with hilarity and opinion with Jamie, Simon and Hutch. The Newcastle Comparison, live weekly on NUFC Talk Radio, on YouTube and in all your listening platforms. NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Newcastle Comparison. It is not good times in the parish, but we will persevere nonetheless. We're here on NUFC Talk TV and on YouTube. Smash the likes and follow buttons if you're not already. Although I understand if everybody's feeling a little bit down on all things Newcastle at the moment. If you're listening on a podcast platform, we hope we can offer you some solace, although there are some very miserable people involved in this podcast, so the chances of that are slim. Speaking of which, good evening, Hutch. I would call you the miserable Mag, but I think we all feel a bit like that, don't we?
Well, welcome to my life. So, hello, everyone.
God, what a grim thought. And good evening, Mr. Simon Carhill.
Hello, Jamie. Oh, yeah, this is going to be a rough one.
Yeah, I suppose it is in many ways, but it's got to be done. The thing is, if you're not there for times like this, then the good times don't feel so good, do they? Otherwise, we could all just go off and support Real Madrid. So, I suppose there's only one place to start, isn't there? Who won the Celebrity Jungle? That's what we're here. Okay, so let's be honest about it. Newcastle beaten in the Timeware derby on Sunday. It's been a long few days, so I've lost track a little bit. But it was just absolutely abject, wasn't it? I'm very pleased to say that I was there. Oh, hey. And obviously I had a thoroughly miserable time. But let's start with one of you guys. So, Simon, what did you do for the game?
Well, I was at home looking after kids, but I was actually feeling a little unwell over the weekend, chaps. And this game did absolutely nothing to help that. So I found myself a peaceful spot on the sofa, watching on a digital device while sacrificing the telly for the kids. And it was just an abysmal watch. I nearly fell asleep in the first half because it was pretty dreary, to be honest. Sorry, were you going to say?
Are you just using it as a medium to whinge? I mean, it's every Englishman's right, but, you know, people might be listening to this thinking, let's see if there's something on here that can uplift me about after the game. And he has some bloke going on about his maladies and misery and getting bullied off his TV.
Just trying to be real. That's all I'm doing. And what I'm also suggesting is sometimes the game gives you a bit of a lift in those dark times. This was not one of those times. Unfortunately, it was just abject. And watching Alanga and Gordon chase the ball out of play on repeat just did nothing for my condition during that first half. Then when Big Nick decided to tuck one away expertly into his own net, and I saw a comment today that if Dan Burn had been on the pitch, that's probably where he would have been standing instead of Big Nick, which might have made a difference in that situation had he not been assaulted by one of the Sunderland players with what is suspected a broken rib and a punctured lung. Then we might have just seen that away and carried on with the dreariness. But no, we decided to capitulate and then do nothing about it for the rest of the second half until the last 5 minutes. So, yeah, just an abysmal performance, really. I think the players know it, the fans know it, the Sunderland fans definitely know it as well, and just one to forget, hopefully, as soon as possible.
I don't know if it's hindsight because he went off, but I think Dan Burn was probably our best player. He was seemed to be well in control of that back four. And you're right, that's, you know, if some butts were pots and pans, we'd all be tinkers. But if he was on the pitch, you know, you don't have that comical goal. But I think it was a terrible, terrible game, and that stupid goal settled it. But coming to you, Hutch, Sunderland had the whole second half to just defend that lead, and they did it. They just managed the game well, didn't they? Maybe they would say if that hadn't have gone in, they'd have found a goal of their own anyway. and we were just too crap to do anything when we were up against it. Did you think it was crap, Hutch? Was it miserable enough to meet your standards?
It was absolutely abject. There wasn't
Abject.
one positive thing that you could say about it. I don't necessarily think that Sunderland would have found a goal because I didn't think they offered any particular threat. I think they had one, maybe two shots on target, but really two shots on target, but they were also crap. I agree with what Simon says about Anthony Elanga and Anthony Gordon. Gordon in the second half putting a little spurt on just before he got subbed off, and that was quite literally the only thing of note that I think he did. And even then, it was quite clear that he only did it because he was about to be taken off. Yeah, there is absolutely nothing good that you could say about it.
I mean, I can give you something that was good about it for you both, because at least you weren't there. At least you had the option when the final whistle went of just switching it off. And I don't know about you guys, but my coping mechanism for anything like this is to just put it off, get entirely away from football, and you can just put on something that you know will cheer you up, a jolly film, a funny comedy series you like, a nostalgic cartoon from when you were a child, because that inner child is sobbing its little heart out and you want to put on Masters of the Universe or something to cheer him up. But I was stuck in Sunderland for ages.
I don't envy you there. Yeah.
And it's like, I knew I'd be there for a while, but for anyone who, to cover off what happened, we all applied for tickets. It sold out at a very high points total, and I was the only one who got one. And I spent a bit of time in a dilemma: do I go or do I just sell my ticket? And I decided to go. Obviously, with hindsight, a really, really shit idea. But the draw of potentially winning the derby was too much. So I went down there, but because I was on my own, I got the club organised buses. And afterwards, it was about, I'd say, 40 minutes in the ground and then shepherded down to the buses. I'm sorry to report that some of the local people were making faces and even hand gestures at us as we walked past. And I didn't even know most of those people. So, yeah, I mean, be like that if you want when you win. But so we had to go past them into the bus. I was then sat on the bus for another 40 odd minutes, and somebody spent that whole 40 minutes and then the whole ride back to Newcastle dinging, you know, the little bell that you press when you get off the bus, dinging that, ding, 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 right? And I hate him today more than anybody associated with Sunderland, more than any of the players, the fans, more than anyone responsible for that defeat. That person, like, if you know, if I could read a story about somebody falling in a hole, I'd rather it was him than any Sunderland player.
So we're against bus dinging as a pod. That's what we're saying. I'd just like to point out that I was whinging a little bit as well, but that's a comparable whinge, but a valid one nonetheless. I'll take nothing away from it. It's an outrageous thing to do on a bus for 40 minutes.
Well, it is, and then by the time I got back to Newcastle, there was that sort of atmosphere about the place as well, whereby people are just clearly in that sort of derby defeat mode that people love putting little videos on about. So I went into the stack. I saw a couple of people like arguing, and it was getting close to maybe coming to blows. I saw a couple of people on the street on the verge of a scrap, and just everywhere you went, there was just sort of people sat at tables. If you look through pub windows, just like that, looking like the world had caved in. And
it was just the manner of the defeat as well. Like I think that just adds an extra flavour to it all. Like, and it wasn't like the ref robbed us or there was some outrageous decision. It was just didn't turn up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. I don't know if you've seen. the quotes from Bruno after the game. I was going to ask Hutch if you could find them because obviously I didn't bother researching them in detail. You know, why have a dog and bark yourself? But Bruno was pretty. It was pretty good after the game. He gave a decent performance. He had a couple of shots. He put himself about in midfield. It was a low bar, but he was one of our better players. But then after the game, he was just straight and honest, wasn't he?
Yeah, he is good at that. Generally, he was good at that after the Leverkusen game as well. Like, calling us out on our pitfall, which was conceding late. Now it's scoring own goals for the opposition in a Tyne-Wear derby. But yeah, he's shown leadership recently, and I was going to touch on this for the Leverkusen game and a couple of the other games as well. But I think we're missing some kind of, like, he's the one who's leading at the moment, right? He's the one that's trying to talk to the press, set the tone. But I think we're missing like the influence of people like Trippier, like, because if it's a mentality problem closing out games, and it's an experience thing, he was one of the best at it. I know he's had his dip, he's had his loss of form as well, but he kind of sets the tone for that professionalism sometimes.
Is Trippier injured at the moment though? Because, well, he is injured, but I think surely he's back fairly soon, isn't he?
He's been out for a while, hasn't he? I don't know I don't actually know what the nature of his injury was. Let's see if I can find out while we're talking.
Stay tuned for more up-to-date, well-researched information here. It's a hamstring. Oh no, I can tell you that it's a hamstring.
He's got a hamstring injury.
Thanks, mate. But like, that's can be a couple of weeks or it can be 6 months, can't it?
He's not really been on the pitch since there was an incident in the singing corner, wasn't it, where they were basically singing "He shags who he wants." I often wonder with Trippier, is it an injury or is it another attempt to get out of the club? I'm not throwing him under a bus there, but it is a question that comes up every now and then.
He's 35-year-old. He's played a lot of football this year. And I think he is a good professional. And I don't think you'd have to have an incredibly thin skin. I mean, Donald Trump standard. But to force your way out the club off the back of that, it feels like every time somebody misses anything, any game time, there's a bit of a conspiracy theory there. I've heard that Botman's been dropped because he was friends with Alexander Isak. It's a stretch of the imagination that Sven Botman might be injured. Dude's been injured for the best part of 3 years. And
his is apparently a back injury, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. So that all must be, just to offer a tangent on about Botman, but that all must be linked to his previous injuries as well, because it's clear since he's come back from the second knee injury that he's missing a step. So getting up to fitness might be just taking more time for him, and these injuries might be more likely.
But as you pointed out, Dan Burn has a punctured lung and a broken rib. I think a damaged rib. I don't know if it's actually broken.
So does that leave us then with only 4 senior defenders?
Well, let's have a think about that, because you've got Shea and Chow, who would be the centre halves, you'd imagine. Then you've got the fullbacks are Hall and Livermore, but I don't know how fit Emil Kraft is. I don't know if Alex Murphy counts as a senior defender, and I don't know how far away Botman and Trippier are. So there's just so much of a cloud of mystery around the place.
Yeah. We're looking paper thin at the back, though. Like, no cover for Lewis Hall if Dan Burn's injured, and then no cover for Tino, Kraft and Trippier injured. So we are paper thin.
'Tis the season to be jolly.
Yeah. But then we're also have no cover for either Chow or Shaw if either of them get injured. So we'll basically have no cover at the back whatsoever.
Okay, I thought you were going to sweep in with some good news there, Hutch, but
Simon, this is not a day for good news.
it's not. No.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
go back to the comments, and fair enough, what Bruno said gives you some hope that he is offering some form of leadership. But then you go back to what like the likes of Gordon said and what Howe said, and like, you know, they're basically going, oh, you know, we've got to make it right on Wednesdays. Like, you can't make that right. You can't make that right by beating Fulham. You've lost to your biggest rivals. And I do think there's a bit of a mentality thing here that they just don't get it. There is a difference between this derby and the derbies that they will have played in.
Yeah, you have to beat Fulham. It's not like that'll help. It's you must. Otherwise, the tables will start turning more severely, I think.
Have you seen Bruno's statement today?
I think I read it before. Was it on Instagram?
Basically saying that beating Fulham on Wednesday isn't going to set it right, that they have to basically beat them in March.
Yeah, that's
And
which is kind of a PR exercise, isn't it? It's a
I would
response.
slightly disagree with that because I don't want them to play them in March because I want that game to be postponed because we should be at the Carabao Cup final.
That's good point, Hutch. For anyone who didn't know, it's League Cup final weekend, isn't it? So, so hopefully, you're right. That game won't go ahead, and we'll be at Wembley instead. I've also got tickets for Greg Davies that night, so I need things to fall into place a little bit. Here's a little thing, right? So here's me in the ground, as ever. We were sat right at the back there. Now, a point I'd like to make from this, it is absolutely Sunderland's prerogative to sit us at the back. And if anybody else wants to whinge about that, because we do that to away fans too, then they can get stuffed. Because when away fans come to Newcastle, they get to go in all the pubs, they get a short walk from the station, they get treated really well, that there's no threat on them or anything. Contrast that with some of the trips we've had. Places like Arsenal or Wolverhampton, where you're about as welcome as a fart in an astronaut suit. Now, obviously, I was not at all welcome here today. That was made quite clear when I left the ground. But
to be fair, they're also they're probably the only team in the world that is also not welcome at ours.
That's reciprocated, of course. But when anyone else comes here, they get a very nice reception, don't they? And then when I left, as I say, there was people standing there saying rude things. Here's me leaving the ground as well. That's not it. That's still me getting there. But it just felt like such a long day from coming out of there to then having to get all the way back. And when I got back to Newcastle, it felt like about 2:00 in the morning, and I got the bus home, and Last of the Summer Wine was just starting. But
not only did you come back home, you also went back in time about 20 years.
Yeah, that was just a bit of levity, which I think we all need at the moment. I should clarify for viewers of an international or youthful nature, Last of the Summer Wine was a British BBC sitcom about a bunch of old people that aired every single Sunday from when I was born through to about the year, well, a few years ago, through to about like 2019 or something like that. And it's not on anymore, but what I mean is I got home for early evening on a Sunday.
There can't be many Newcastle pods out there that are discussing Last of the Summer Wine on the as part of their content. So I think we're breaking ground there.
I bet there's less than 4 more. I bet there's less than 4 other pods that are also having this discussion. And I want to see just how subversive we can get here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a winner for the title of this pod when it comes out as well. So
1973 to 2010.
What?
When Last of the Summer Wine aired.
We shouldn't really do podcast tips while we're on the air, but try and give your statements a little bit of context, eh?
I didn't really feel that it needed context. We're talking about last of the summer wine.
I think we move on from Last of Summer Wine. Let's talk about something else. Should we talk about football?
Oh God, do we have to? So, all right. So yeah. Anyway, that happened. I think the big thing is there's people and the conversation's been going on where people are uncertain about Eddie Howe, and I always thought this was a big catalyst, a big acid test, and all that. Do either of you think this is a death knell? Is it that far? I think his stock's fallen a little bit with everybody because Bruno's comments were that, you know, they weren't set up to fight, they weren't set up to attack, they didn't pass it well. It's tactics, isn't it? You can't blame the personnel particularly anymore. All right, Wissa needs to get full fitness, but he's not playing him. But they're set up badly and they're not showing any hunger for it. So I guess that question is, where are you guys on the how out spectrum?
Hutch, do you want to go first?
Certainly closer than I was last week. It seemed to kind of like it was a bit of a pinnacle, wasn't it, of like the poor performances this season away from home, and the only thing that we didn't do was concede a last minute goal. Like the whole setup. I mean, first of all, you got your way to your local rivals, and you didn't get into them for the entire first half. You just sat back, hoping that you might break with two fast wingers, but they weren't really looking for the ball. They were too far wide. Like, we're playing basically a five, quite wide across the pitch, and then you were lumping the ball up to Voldemort, hoping that he was going to do something. Like, it's a bit like when we used to lump the ball up to Alan Saint-Maximin or someone like that, and just hope that he's going to do something with it. But you know, if your runners are so far away from him, what do you expect him to do? He was flicking the ball on straight back to their defence because there's no one around them. And then if the plan was that in the second half, that we're going to basically just play, you know, in a different way and get into them, that basically just went all out the window. The second the second half started, because that's basically when they scored, and they could just sit back. Like if the plan was that we're going to nick something in that second half, it was just absolutely ridiculous. Just play the game, win against
They had
them.
the kickoff. They had the kickoff, and they pretty much attacked. The attack was repelled. They attacked again. The goal went in, didn't it? And that was it. We might as well have all went home at that point. Except that I couldn't because I was locked in.
There does seem to be a thing at the present moment in time where we just can't do the basics right. Can't pass to each other. Can't attack. Like the attack isn't working, but they also then make the stupid mistakes, which puts pressure back on them, like you've just said.
They seem to fall on with it a lot when they're at the like very back of a forming attack. And like the last man sort of keeps risking losing the ball and knowing fine well that it'll be a severe counter attack. And it just seems tactically naive, doesn't it? So what do you think, Simon? Do you blame Eddie Howe?
As the last time we had this pod, I said I was firmly Howe in. My trust is shaken a little bit. I think he's still the right manager. I think he got that game very wrong. I think, but what we are seeing, like what I do see, is a consistent pattern where we get in attacking positions and we do those three players in the corner of the 18-yard box, and they pass it around to each other, and then eventually try and lump it in. And I don't think consistently that gets us goals. And I think we struggle for attacking passes in those scenarios, or accurate attacking passes in those scenarios. What you saw in like the latter half of the second half as well, Lewis Hall was stepping into midfield, trying to play more attacking passes. and I think he's got a fantastic left foot, mind. And he used to play centre midfield. Like one of his positions used to be centre midfield. I think Howe's turned him into a left back, a very, very good one. But crossing it into Voltemada isn't working when we're like against the low block, against like a deeply set defence, and we're not cutting teams open like that. So we need to find something else. Like we need another method. And our normal method wasn't working, which is Alanga or Gordon trying to get around the back of them because they were back, and then at us they were set, and they were setting faster than we were. So it needed something different that we didn't have.
He doesn't seem to be able to adjust from that kind of 4-3-3 that's always worked in the past, does he? And that's maybe the crux of the problem. I think, without getting over analytical, he is putting the team out in a way that they are not attacking the game. They're constantly look at risk of losing a goal. And the question is, well, I would say, can this season still be a success? Because we're still in 3 cups. That was the game again where the win could put us at least in the top half of the table, if not the top 6, and they just crumble. They just crumble every time they get to that point, but they could still get in the top 6. So, do you have any confidence that we can get in that top 6, 7, win a trophy, and make a success of the season? Or is that ridiculous? Or do you feel now that we're doomed? It feels like we won't be able to get out of mid-table. To me, it feels like we're constantly shooting ourselves in the foot.
The issue is, and if you listen to any other podcasts or read any of the articles surrounding Newcastle United, there seems to be this excuse that because we're in all these different competitions, Newcastle can't do the things on the training ground that they need to do to be able to then shift away from that 4-3-3 or switch it up tactically in any meaningful way that's going to basically improve the results going forward. Now, I'm sorry, but you'll look at some other managers within the Premier League who struggled and they've managed to do it. I'm not looking at Arne Slot because, Liverpool are crap. But, and yes, fair enough. To turn around and say Pep managed to change the formation halfway through a season, Pep's an oddity in the world of the entire world, never mind football, because he just lives and breathes football. But you need to be able to do something because at the present moment in time, it's just not working.
There is some responsibility on Howe for that Sunderland game, right? But let's just look at some of the players as well. Gordon is not performing. He is not the Anthony Gordon that took part in so many goals over the past however many seasons he's been with us. He's not. Alanga is also not contributing what he should do for the price tag we paid for him either. So the 2 key attacking players, because Voltemada is not. He's not the out and out striker. That's not who he is. He scored goals for us, but he's being put in that position at the moment because Wissa hasn't been fit. But Gordon and Alanga should be creating so much threat for us, and they did none of that on Sunday. They were dreadful.
But Simon, though, right? You've got a striker in Voltemada, and you say that he's not the out and out striker that we've signed. We've signed him, and we're not playing to his strengths. We haven't set up in any shape that is different to how we were playing last season when we were playing with Isak.
But if you look at our strengths with Isak, though, it was pace on the break, and he's not pace on the break. He wants the ball to feet.
So why are we playing like that?
Well, exactly. But the other, Sunderland, I think Sunderland were playing like this on Sunday, where if Baltimore got anywhere near the ball, they'd be round him, and it would be really difficult for him to get away from that position. So I think the players have to take some of this responsibility as well.
They do, but at the same time, you've set up with effectively 1 up front, 5 in the midfield, 4 at the back, and Alanga and Gordon were so wide. they were able to surround Voltemar and get the ball off him. But what's he supposed to do in that position? Like, if there's no one around him to actually pass
No,
the ball
exactly.
to,
Yeah.
that is a
And,
tactical problem.
and I think
No,
that
exactly. I agree. And Howe didn't get it right. I just don't think the players performed. It was like a mashup of everything went wrong.
Voldemort is a square peg in a round hole, and he's done very well in spite of that. And you'd hope
He has
that
definitely.
the big question is, Johan Wissa, give him a week or so, he should be starting games, shouldn't he? Maybe not Wednesday night, but I would hope he starts against Chelsea or at least against Man United. So,
But is
and
this
then
going
it's
to
how
create
that
another
gets
problem?
resolved.
Is this going to create another problem, right? Because you're going to go and start Wissa, and then Wissa gets tired, then you've got to bring in Voltemar. And Voltemar, as we've already said, doesn't play that role.
Well,
You need to play the two of them together.
this was going to be the end of my sentence. If he's willing to adjust that formation so it works with Wissam Waltemar, and maybe we'll have a bit more forward impetus. The problems, I think, the problems that a lot of people are pointing out is the Isaac deal could be a really good deal. He's not done well at Liverpool so far. We got a lot of money for him. But it's kind of the fact that 55 million of that went on Elanga, who had a full pre-season and who hasn't had any injury worries or anything. He's just not cut it. His only goal involvement was at Everton, and that was basically squaring it for Voltemara, who pulled off an excellent finish. And we're getting back into December now, and he's just not cut it. And people are saying, you've spent that money, and everyone just wants Jacob Murphy still in the team. Might come good, yeah, but I feel the longer it goes on, the more it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then you've got Jacob Ramsey. And what was he? He was 40 million, if maybe just a little under. And he just doesn't seem, for a start, not near the team. And when he does come on, I thought Joe Willock looked better than him in both last week. And I don't think Ramsey even got a look in, did he, on Sunday?
This is the other thing for the derby as well. Like, I think there's so much potential with Miley, but I don't think he was the right player for that game. I think Howe seeing him as an out-and-out replacement for Joe Linton, or the player behind Joe Linton in that enforcer role. Whereas I'm not sure he is that. He's big physically, but he's still a young lad. And I don't know if he's more of an attacking midfielder than those two. But Willock and, like you say, Willock and Ramsey, I thought more energy they might have brought on Sunday.
Yeah, but would you say so? Then, and let's leave the game, right?
Yeah. Okay.
We're talking.
You leave the game.
But it took me a long time to leave the game on Sunday. That would have to die hard. But those signings, are they bad enough for you to think, if this season persists like this, at some point Eddie Howe needs to leave? Or do you think whatever happens this season, he's got enough credit in the bank? Or would you go before the end of the season? Or would you go tomorrow or yesterday or perhaps after?
I think there's one important decision to be made in January. I do think we need to buy someone, and I think that someone needs to be an attacking midfielder.
So that's another part of the question then, because what I would say is Howe has earned at least this season. We're
Absolutely.
still in those 3 cups.
Yeah,
we're still in those 3 cups. If we beat Fulham, the League Cup will go into February. The Champions League will most probably go into February with the points we've got on the board, which we'll come to in a moment. The FA Cup has yet to start, and you don't know what can happen. So you need to give him this season. But if you're thinking maybe if this season continues like this, he loses his job at some point, you don't want him to be spending the entire kitty in January, do you?
No, which is why I think you give him one transfer, but looks beyond the system that he always plays and looks to adapt into different systems. So, look, getting rid of Elliot Anderson, I don't think we were forced into it, but I think he's the kind of player that we miss, someone that can accurately play attacking passes forward, which Bruno's trying to do everything at the moment. Whereas I think we need that player and then see how the rest of the season goes and then review it at the end of the season. But Howe got it wrong on Sunday. But I don't think we get rid of him. I'm not on
I
that bus.
agree. Hutch, where are you?
I don't think that you can afford to just buy one player. We are so devoid of options at the back that you need to at least buy a fullback. I do agree with you on the, well, we certainly need creativity up front. So probably an attacking midfielder. I mean, you know, I think he's lost a lot of credit that was in the bank just with like how abject that performance was, like tactically naive, and then they kind of like come out and kind of like play it down as like, oh yeah, it's an important game that we've lost, but we'll make up for it. It's like, it doesn't work like that. Not up here.
That's a good point, because I said earlier that I thought Bruno's comments were very good. And, he said all the right things, and I think he was speaking from the heart. I don't think it was PR stuff. By contrast, Howe's comments were borderline infuriating, because he came out, he started well, he owned up, and he owned the bad performance, but then he did say things like putting it right against Wolves and that they'd played well in the first half, which I don't know what, the first half of his reign, did he mean maybe? But certainly not the first half of that match. Sunderland didn't play well in the first half either, by the way. So, but he kind of made excuses, didn't he?
That's what is really, really infuriating. They were dog shit. They were crap. Like, everyone basically saying, "Oh, worried about the Mackems because they're playing really well." Really? Like, we were so bad, but we made them look good in what is probably the worst Premier League game in the last 20 years.
I didn't see anything too threatening in them, like particularly attacking wise. Like I think we had that pretty much under control. Like you say,
Right.
they're not.
I'm banning any more mention of the game on Sunday. Right?
You started
it. So, well, I'll tell you what I'm trying to say is I think Howe deserves a season. I don't know if I'd put too much money into it, because, like, this was abject, but so have previous games been. So was Brentford, so was West Ham. He's repeating the same tricks. It's a worry about you give him 80 million to spend. It doesn't go well, and I think a lot of people think a new manager is going to be like a little bit of a golden goose, and things will change. But the new manager's not going to have money to spend because of PSR and because of how much we've spent, and they may not be as gifted as Howe is getting a bit out of players that aren't his top draw. So there's a big old season ahead. But I think if he's still got enough credit to run all those cups down, if we get to March, April, and we're out of all the cups and we're still 12th or 13th, 14th in the league, then that is a really poor season. I don't think there's an excuse for it. And I might be thinking it is time to change the manager. So just quickly, would you guys, without mentioning the Sunderland match, would you guys agree, if we end up in this sort of position with no cups, would you want to change manager, or would you give Howe even longer?
My worry is that this is the second season we've played Champions League football, and he doesn't seem to be capable of playing 2 games a week. And as such, if things don't improve after Christmas, even before Christmas, frankly, if things don't improve very quickly, I would probably
before Christmas. There's 2 games.
We should be winning them both, frankly.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I would. I mean, it's with a heavy heart, but yeah, I would say at the end of the season, if this turns into a bit of a nightmarish season, then yeah, I would.
Okay.
Disagree. Won us a cup. Give him another summer, another season.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if then, right, he comes back and we play with pressure and intensity and we get back into the Champions League and then we go through this pain once again? Like, it's Harry, man.
But the main difference at the moment is PSR, though. Really.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
PSR doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll have a discussion about what happens the season after next in 18 months' time. Right?
Yeah. Just earmark this
Right
one.
now.
Yeah.
Right now, I've got a couple of things. First of all, I do quickly want to do this because I think they should be quite interesting. We do this thing, don't we, where we put all the teams that we play in order as to where we'd rank them. Oh, should we do it with Sunderland?
I think this is going to have some bitterness attached to it, isn't it?
It probably is, isn't it? So hold on then. Let's just get it up there. So this is where we are so far. So we've got Man City in worldwide as a worldwide club. In massive, we've got Newcastle United, of course, Everton and Tottenham. Saying nothing about Everton and Tottenham, lads, because that was an epic talking about that. West Ham in big, no one yet in medium. Burnley and Fulham as small clubs. And Brentford, yeah. Hey, come at us. Brentford or tin pot. So, worldwide, massive, big, medium, small or tin pot.
Can we come up with a new one?
Simon, where are we going to put Sunderland? Can we come up with a new one? A new one beginning with C?
Yeah, something like that.
C?
Yeah. Oh dear.
Go on.
What I honestly want to say is big, and I'll qualify that with I don't think when we went to the Championship, I think our attendances were higher. I think these are my yardsticks, right? I think the following for Newcastle when they've been in lower league positions has probably been consistently higher than Sunderland's. I think you're going to tell me the histories are quite comparable, or there's going to be some cup thing. But
I can give you the histories, right? So basically,
they're very comparable.
Yeah,
they are quite comparable. Sunderland have won. They've only ever won two major trophies. They've won the English League and they've won the FA Cup, right? They've won the league 6 times, which is more than us. We've won it 4 times, and that's something people used to beat us with. But they haven't won it since in over 100 years, I think. I think it was something like it might be 90 years. It was like 1937 or something last time they won it. I think they've won the FA Cup 3 times. Never won the League Cup. They've only ever played 4 games in Europe. And what I would say is in the Premier League era, in modern times, they've been a relegation club. Their natural home has been probably the Championship. They've either been fighting relegation in the actual Championship or on certain occasions in League One. They've never finished high up enough in the Premier League to get into Europe. And I think a lot of their reputation goes on the very distant past. The last trophy was 1973. That's 53 years ago. And it's kind of built on what they were a very, very long time ago, which there's other clubs like that, like Sheffield United, and the fact that they do have a really good, strong support base. I would say that history and that base is enough that I agree with you, Simon. They're a big club. But you'd get Mackems arguing that they should be a massive club if we are, whereas I would say our Premier League relevance, our bigger overall history of playing European football, Champions League football in recent times, and the fact that we have won a few more cups overall means that we can state a much bigger case than them. So, Hutch, we've kind of already decided it because we've had 2 votes, but could you sway us at all?
Could I sway you towards tin pot?
I mean, that would be better, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I'm not above it either. I'm not above it, but
I mean, the fact that even just for this game, right, that they refused to call us by our names. So technically, they didn't beat us; they beat visitors.
Yeah.
Like
That was a
the
bit
thing is,
Tim
right,
Pot behaviour. Yeah.
it was very I mean, you can kind of understand it given that the last time we went there, they rolled out the red carpet. But yeah, they're one of those. Like they could be like we have a friend who basically says that they're a sleeping giant, and he is a Newcastle fan because, to be fair, if you put the money in, you could strap a rocket to it. But at the same time, like we haven't played them in 10 years because they've basically been doldruming around the lower leagues. And the only reason that they were in those lower leagues is because for like the 5 seasons before that, they did that thing where they would sack the manager just before they played us in order to kind of get the boost of beating us and the preceding games that they would either win or draw just to stay in the Premier League. And the one time that it didn't work was the one time where we basically got relegated. They had no one to sack the manager for. And then they funked it.
Well, they were in huge debt because of having to fund each of those managers new signings and then pay them off when they sacked them, weren't they? And they had all these rubbish players on their books that the manager 3 years ago had signed.
So
I agree. I think you're spot on there. Their obsession with us sending the League One.
that kind of behaviour is what you would call tin pot.
Yes,
But
it
then
is.
they would turn around and say, we were in the Mike we did tin pot things, and they would probably be right.
Well, and everyone on that list could probably have that argument for everybody else. I think you're right. I think they are prone to slightly more tin pot behaviour than they should be at times, and the scoreboard's a really good example of that. But I think that's through the lens of local bitterness. They're a big club, aren't
It
they?
is. It is
Come on.
local business, and we'll be nice. We'll be gracious. They are a big club,
Of course they are. So
so we'll put them in tin pot.
they're staying in big club, and I'm going to. But and you know what? That's it. We've said something nice about them. Let's leave it behind there. We'll hopefully not speak about them in March because we'll be busy winning the League Cup. And by the time they come to us in April or May or whenever it gets rearranged to, there'll be a bereft, ragtag, sorry shadow of themselves that is very, very easily beaten. And then we'll have some fun. And our fun will last all the way into the summer. So forget that. Let's talk about the Champions League. So it does feel like we're going back a little bit talking about Leverkusen, but I'm going to do it anyway. Mainly because it's now a bit of a break in terms of where we're at with the Champions League. I've got something here. I am going to try and share this screen, but I don't know what it'll look like because just in case anyone wasn't aware, the Champions League table, right, is massive. Oh, Christ, that's not going to work. We're in its way if we put it there. You know what? I'm going to put it there with us in the way like that because it'll make more sense. I'm obviously also going to have to explain this for anyone who isn't watching it on YouTube. But quickly, lads, first of all, 2-2 with Leverkusen. You'd have took that beforehand, wouldn't you? But it was a little bit disappointing in the end, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we did so well to get back into that game, conceded a sloppy first goal. Like it was just a bit of a fluke, really, off Bruno's arse into the net, and then did really well to fight back. Although, like I know we were talking about Eddie Howe's tactics before, there was so much vulnerability, and they were rapid on the counter. Like
Yeah.
they were so aggressive, and like every time we lost the ball around their 18-yard box, they seemed to have a one-on-one. And Malik Chow got very lucky early on with a foul just outside the box and not getting sent off. But
It was outside, wasn't it? But
oh yeah, just but
Livermore could be said to be covering. It's
yeah.
one of them. If the ref had got the red card out on the pitch, the VAR wouldn't have saved him.
No,
And the
I think
fact
that
the ref only
sorry,
booed him on the pitch meant it worked in his favour.
Yeah, exactly. So if it had gone the other way, it would have been given. And luckily, it went our way and it was given. So, yeah, rode our luck a bit. But yeah, did so well to fight back and get back into it. Great goal for Lewis Miley as well, heading one in. And then just another, giving it away. So I think it was Tonali didn't follow his man, which is very
Yeah.
unusual. And
He had a stinker, Tonali. He
yeah,
was really poor in that game.
he's been off. He's not hit the high notes of other seasons, which we'll probably touch on again in a bit. But yeah, he wasn't having a good game. And then Grimaldo, or whatever Hutch called him last week on the pod, turned out to be the villain of the piece.
Hutch
Yeah,
picked him to score, didn't he? And he
he
did.
did. Yeah, and he was there. He looked a different level to the rest of the Leverkusen players, to be honest. From again, how can a left back affect a match? But he did.
Hutch, you twat. This is what I mean about
Well,
being a misery, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy yet again. You go around backing their players up to the hill. He probably heard this and that buoyed him. This is freely available on very many platforms, don't you know? Like and subscribe. And it's not beyond the realms that the Bayer Leverkusen left back, whose name you don't quite know, thought, hey, I'm getting attention in Newcastle. I feel great. I'm going to go out and score on Wednesday night. So next time, just keep your mouth shut, right?
next
What
time,
did you make?
I think the game is going to be.
What did you think of the Bayer Leverkusen game without unleashing any curses, hexes, or ancient hidden magic?
It was just like we did well to go in front, but it was just typical of the season. Like again, can't just hold on for that last 2 minutes, and you know it's just so
It's,
disappointing, isn't it? So frustrating.
I think, outside of the context of the rest of the season, your overwhelming thing would have been to be happy with the point, but the fact that we keep letting stupid late goals in means it's become an irritant. And
We
I'm
would have
going
been
to
sixth in the league.
that's the thing I'm going to pick up on here, because I've got the table up and a lot of people won't be able to read it because it's vast. There's 36 teams in it, some of which are obscured by our faces. But people are listening as well. So what happens is you've got the top 8 and there's a line. Inter Milan are 6th with 12 points from 6 games. We would be 6th. We were 6th in the in-play table before we let Leverkusen equalise. And I just think what that means for the season is huge. So for anyone who doesn't, we are now 12th. So teams 9th through 12th, teams 9th through 16th go into a playoff against teams in position 17th through 24th. And it's kind of, so Liverpool are 9th at the moment. Copenhagen are 24th. They would play each other in the knockout with Liverpool at home in the second leg. So you've kind of got, and sorry, obviously everyone below 24th goes out. The team that are currently 25th are Benfica with 6 points. And first of all, guys, I don't think it's likely that there's enough teams beneath us that could catch us to knock us out. Do you think? I mean, you'd hope we get some points against PSV and PSG, but I think maybe 10 points might even do it, or if we only got one more point, we'd still go through. But if we're going to be in that playoff, it's a massive advantage if you come as high up as possible, because not only will you get home advantage in the second leg, but you'll get somebody like Quarabags, which sounds like a supermarket from abroad when you don't really know what you're doing. And instead of, if you fall down the table a little bit, whoops, you're away to Borussia Dortmund in the second leg. And then whatever happens then in the last 16, by going through the playoff, you will have one of these top 8 sides, and you'll definitely be away in the second leg. So that's going to be, I'll just go through who's in the top 8. Arsenal, Bayern, PSG, Man City, Atalanta, who've done well to creep in there, Inter, Real, and Atletico. So all ones that you'd rather avoid. If we could have got in the top 8, would have had a play. Would have had a rest. That would have been important. The playoff is 2 games in the last 2 weeks of February. If we've got a League Cup semi-final as well, our fixture list is going to be hectic as hell. And it probably means that we're going to be pretty knackered come March. And it probably means that we're going to have the sort of last 16 tie that we'll struggle to get through. Whereas holding on for the top 8 might have meant we got to the quarter-final. What would your prediction be for the Champions League? If I give you £1 million bet, apart from other people's players to score against us, Hutch, don't say that.
If you look at PSV, they're on 8 points now, right? And they're in 21st. It's a ridiculous table, this, isn't it? Shouldn't be a table.
Yeah.
So they're in 21st and we're in 12th. If they beat us, they leapfrog us and go above us in the table. I could see us losing both games and being the bottom of that playoff places table. Like, we need to be very, very careful. It depends. I don't know what the fixtures that Benfica, Paphos and Union have got next, but we just need to be careful. Like, I think scraping a draw against PSV or PSG get us through, but yeah. I think we're going to end up in the bottom half of that playoff table.
Really?
And playing someone like Chelsea or Tottenham, which will be hideous.
I think they try and avoid a club from your own country. So I don't want to overcomplicate it, but you see how we are 12th?
Yeah.
So we're effectively paired up with Tottenham, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Tottenham are 11th, we are 12th. So we would play either Karabag or PSV. And it would be Karabag for us because we've played PSV in the league stage. And it would be the same thing applied if you were opposite a team from your own country.
So it'll be Liverpool.
But if you look at that, you do. It's sometimes going to be unavoidable because there's 4 English teams in 5 places.
I mean, crikey, Barcelona are still there as well. So we've played them. We played Marseille. So Sporting or Dortmund. Yeah, so I think we get through the playoff places and then we play someone loose. I think that's probably the most likely step.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that is probably how we'll do. I would hope they'd get up for the PSV game though. Go on, Hutch. Hi, Hutch.
I think we'll make the top 8.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. This is like. What a twist! Have you seen the Red Wedding episode of Game of Thrones?
I feel betrayed. Like, we've just spent 45 minutes saying how lost to that game that we can't mention anymore. Complaining about that, and you think we're going to make top 8?
Yeah,
let's get check on this. So that would definitely mean beating PSV then, which I think is probably on.
I think we'll beat PSV. And I think we'll get a draw against PSG because PSG will beat Sporting Lisbon, who they play next, and they will be safe in that. And I think they will play a weaker team because they are currently second in League 1. So I don't think they
Wait, hang on, what? They're not top of the French league?
They are not, no.
Well, but am I arse? This has been the most revelatory minute of this pod ever. I can hear subscribe buttons being smashed.
I genuinely think that top 8 is on. As miserable as I am feeling today, now that I've said that, we'll probably lose both games and go out. But, I genuinely think that we have a chance of making top 8 and I think we can do it.
Well, that's great, and you've thought it out as well, because I think we've said all along that the PSG game could be a kind of a blessing in disguise because it's our most difficult game on paper. But with it being last, they might not be that arsed about it. They might just kind of, chuck the Champions League, and that's without knowing that they weren't even winning League On for the first time in 20 années, or however long it's been. But Yeah, why not, Hutch? Do you think we can win the whole thing?
Nope. I might be being positive about that, but I'm going to be realistic about everything else. However.
Derek Platten thinks we can win the Champions League.
That's a
I
shame.
think. So I think, bless him, is I just thought it was normal cigarettes he smoked. I must have been wrong. So we'll have a little bit of a look at the week ahead, right? Then, so obviously drawn with Leverkusen, I think would have felt all right through the lens of if we'd beaten Sunderland, but it feels miserable now. We've said already that Anthony Gordon and Eddie Howe claiming that beating Fulham in the League Cup could eradicate the memory of the Derby defeat is daft talk. But we can hopefully do something in the League Cup. First of all, I'm going to get more stuff up. Let's have a look at the League Cup quarterfinals. Lads, can we get through that? Would you say we beat Fulham?
We should beat Fulham.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should.
We have to. It would be horrible walking away from St James's Park without a win on Wednesday, I think.
I think this would really twist the knife off the back of the Derby defeat, wouldn't it? Because if we went out of the League Cup for the first time in 2 years, lost our grip on our trophy, that's been, a bit of a sense of pride and joy. But news that, did you see Fulham have lost Iwobi, Bassi, and I forget the other guy, to the Nigeria squad for the African Cup of Nations. So 3 of their better players have suddenly been taken away. The worry I've got, which, Hutch, let's see what you have to say about this, see if there's any more shocks up your sleeve, is that if we do win, the semi-final lineup once again looks highly ominous. It looks like it would be Man City, Chelsea and Arsenal, and they'll all be taking that seriously. I think they'd all want this cup, especially Arsenal. Do you think this is doomed? If we did is it just going to be 2 extra games and 2 extra disappointments in January if we get through? Or do you hold out on hope of another Wembley trip?
I mean, I don't know. I think...
Again, I'll just vocalise. So we've got Arsenal against Crystal Palace, which is actually not for another week because of fixture congestion. Cardiff against Chelsea. Cardiff against Chelsea Tuesday night. Man City against Brentford on Wednesday.
Yeah, so it's going to depend massively on who you get, isn't it? So Chelsea, I think we probably could beat them over 2 legs. Arsenal, as you say, they're going to want it, but then they wanted it last year and we beat them. But the issue is that we speculated last time around that they weren't going to play a full-strength squad because they were obviously in European competition and they'd had a couple of injury worries. And then we got there and they did, and we beat it anyway. But still, tiredness in the legs and all the rest of it. Is that tiredness going to impact us more than it would them? And I suspect it would. Man City, we've beaten them in the League Cup last season or the season before. We've beaten them in the league this season.
True. This over 2 legs, so they tend to treat us rather terribly every time we go to the Etihad.
They do. I would out of the teams that you would expect to go through, I would prefer Chelsea. Yeah. I've got a funny feeling Palace might knock out Arsenal.
That would be great. Palace are a useful little side. I think I would say if we win this cup, we need a couple of cards to fall our way from this round.
Yeah.
I'd say you need somebody to create an upset.
Just not Fulham.
And it not to be Fulham, yeah.
I don't think Crystal Palace beating Arsenal would be a massive upset because...
Well, yes, it would.
As you say, it not really, because Arsenal haven't been great. Crystal Palace is still a decent team.
Well, Arsenal are top of the league and the top of the Champions League, and they're still in the League Cup. So if that's your definition of not great, no wonder you think, what was it said? We're going to win the Champions League. So I think you're right. Palace have got a chance, but it would be a big upset. I bet if you went and sort out the bookies odds on that, you'd be making 40, 50 quid off your tenner. So I'm going to pull that down now though, because we'll finish up now. Just a couple of comparisons. League Cup quarterfinals. What's your guys' favourite memories of them from past comparisons? We've gone through over an hour whinging about Sunderland, dissecting that game. Let's cram in some really quick Newcastle comparisons before we end.
Because it is the title of the podcast. I'll quickly go in mine. So mine's from very recent memory. So I'll just try and stick some photos up while I'm talking here as well. So it's from Brentford last season. Brentford, yeah. So this, as is tradition for us as a team, and I mean by us, I mean us guys on the podcast plus one other, we typically have a Christmas day out. But as responsibilities have grown over time, those days out become nights out. And last season, we turned Brentford into our Christmas night out, which started up with a very friendly game of Jenga in the pub, which I've added a photo of into the chat there, Jamie, if you want to throw it in.
So, right, you're making us look like peckers here.
How?
By putting up pictures of us playing little games before the match.
I'm just trying to show people the spirit of how we attend a match and how exciting it can be at times. And this was a thrilling game of Jenga that you guys wouldn't leave alone while I sat on my own having a beer. But it was a lovely day out. And then the match was great as well. So we won. Does everybody know the score?
3-1.
Correct. And the scorer on the day was the aforementioned Toon Army, who had one of his best games. So he scored 2 fantastic goals, rammed one in from the edge of the box, and one lovely volley as well. And then things were rounded off by, I've forgotten 2 secs.
Fabian Schär.
Of course he was, Newcastle's greatest ever defender, with one consolation goal from the now Newcastle striker, Johan Wisser. So yeah, it was a great day out. A few beers, and we went for a few beers after as well. And then, yeah, good win as well. So that's one of my favourite quarterfinal memories.
And then, was it draw straight after this game? Did we go and watch the draw, or was it a different night?
I can't remember because we were drinking.
Because we pretty much made a plan to go to Arsenal pretty soon after that, and that was
yes, we did
a real highlight of that season that we'll touch on in a bit. But I think that is obviously the best one because that was the preamble to us winning our only ever League Cup. And so, Hutch, take that one off the table. What you got?
Well, I kind of misunderstood this, and I've gone for a really shit one. So the one that I chose,
all right.
You've understood it. Yeah.
So the one that I've gone for, because I kind of assumed that we were going to reflect on this right after that game that we're not going to mention again, was the Spurs demolition of Alan Pardew's Newcastle at 4-0. And I picked this one because similarly to what we've been previously...
You have massively reverted to type now after what you said about blitzing through the Champions League. And
yeah, but similarly to what we were saying about how not really getting the significance of that game for us, I kind of feel like Pardew never really got the significance of this game for us. Mm-hmm. And it was 4-0. We got our asses handed to us. It was the time where Jack Hannock was in goal for us because everyone else was injured.
Oh, yeah.
But the next game was the one that really ruined Christmas. And it was the 1-0 when Adam Johnson scored in the 90th minute.
Yeah, mate. So, you know what? I think you've done quite a good job there because in a roundabout way, you've kind of brought it back to
things could be worse.
Miserable. Things could be worse, yeah. The things, and like, I think obviously it was great that Simon put a positive spin on it, but I think there is a positive spin there because that League Cup quarter-final was just when we didn't have any real hope. If we had went there and pulled one out against Tottenham, I think we just go out in the next round in the semi-final. And the thing I remember from all these games is really wanting a League Cup semi-final at home because I thought they'd be such a great event beneath the lights. And that's any version in Newcastle United. That's like Kevin Keegan's, Mike Ashley's crappy versions. We'd have turned up for that, knowing that it was kind of one game from Wembley. And so, a couple of little facts here, actually. So, Hutch, that one that you've picked against Spurs was in 2014 to 15. So it'll be 2014, just before Christmas. That was our 7th ever League Cup quarter-final. The only one we'd won up to that point was in 1976 when we beat Notts County, apparently. And then we went on to lose the next two to Hull on penalties in 2016 and to Brentford in a horrible behind closed doors game in 2020. So I'll come back around to the positive things. And I think this game was pretty seismic, where the first time we got to Wembley, first time at the new Wembley, first time in a lot of years. Just remember who we beat in the quarter-final? I'm sure you do.
Leicester,
yeah, with 2 goals. Somebody's first goal for Newcastle. No. Okay.
No, go on.
So Dan Burn opened the scoring with his first goal.
Of course he did. I think in open play, he ran on and scored his left foot, yeah.
Yeah, when you sign a Dan Burn, you always assume that his first goal is going to be a sort of towering header. And while his most memorable goal is unquestionably a towering header, that was very different. He just sort of played a 1-2 with someone, danced into the box, and I think finished with his right foot inside the opposite post. And then Joe Linton added another one. And that was it. The first time we'd got that semi-final experience, and we got the second leg at home, which is what you want, which is what we want, touch wood, if we get through on Wednesday. And it didn't end well that year, but we got the day out at Wembley, and that whole season had a bit of a feel-good factor, and that was one of the big nights. That was one of the big progress nights where you thought something's happening here. Hopefully we're not going down the other side of that hill now, but and we have another night like that against Fulham. So, just again, for the record, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. We'd reached 9 FA League Cup quarterfinals before that one. We'd only won 1 of them. We've reached 4 in a row since Eddie Howe took over. 1-2, resulting in winning the cup once, and lost the other one on penalties. So I think whatever you say about Eddie Howe, he is beyond question the most successful League Cup manager in Newcastle United's history. And hopefully that will continue. Any other thoughts on the League Cup, lads?
Let's win on Wednesday.
Yeah. So we'll be live on Sunday evening to pull apart League Cup progress or otherwise, the draw for the next round if it's relevant, and the game on Saturday against Chelsea, where we are going out for an all-day sesh that may or may not involve some board games. So, but until then, this is hopefully drawing a line under all things Sunderland misery. I've already had to do way too much media than I'd like to talking about that defeat of Sunderland, so hopefully I can never mention it again.
You're such a media whore. I don't like to chat about all my media work, but
right. I'm going to pull you up on that because you're not allowed to do hurty words. We prefer the term media friendly, folk.
Media friendly. Sorry, apologies. I'll use that in future. You're very media friendly.
But no, seriously, guys, I am available if anyone needs me. Rent a cop. rates available. Have your people talk to my people. Right, that's it for this week then, isn't it? Unless there's anything I've forgotten about.
Not for me.
And not from
Okay.
me.
Okay, well, lads, I'll see you on Wednesday. Everyone else will see you on Sunday. Hopefully we recover from recent events we're not going to mention again, and it's a jollier edition going into actual Christmas. So, season's greetings to you for now, and let's ramp it up a little bit next week. Okay.
Cheers, lads.
Hey, everyone. Hurry,
See
lads.
ya.
Bye.